Nashi, please hide for me. Brother, I want to thank you for your program because each and every day, my wife and I, we both listen to your program. My brother, my wife and I, we did a money ritual. I know that these things are very difficult to accept, and these things, they are things that you can't just walk around telling anyone that you are a ritualist. Brother Nashi, my wife and I, we are both young. I am turning 32 and my wife is turning 27. My wife and I, we both met in South Africa whilst we were still working on a certain farm. My wife used to have a problem whereby she would give birth to only dead babies, but later we got help from some doctor who was a South African and a Sotho-speaking doctor. This doctor used to work at the government hospital, and also at the same time she was working at a certain mediclinic. So when this doctor checked my wife's file, she saw that my wife was giving birth to dead children. This doctor then helped my wife when she became pregnant with our twins, a boy and a girl. Brother Nashi, when I was working on the farm, I was taking care of pigs and also adding the cattle that were on that farm. I was getting paid 1,000 rands a month, and my wife was only getting 1,200 rands a month. We were living a very painful life. This story that I'm talking to you about is from 2016, and then we got these money rituals in 2022. It was in November when we did those rituals. When my wife got pregnant, we went back to that doctor and she made a sacrifice of a lifetime for my wife, because she made sure that my wife gave birth to one of the mediclinic facilities. And I just want to thank that woman who showed us love, because at that time we didn't have any money to pay for those mediclinic medical facilities, but we went there and my wife gave birth to our twins. The money that I was earning at that time was only enough to buy food, but that doctor, she showed us love and she helped us from day one until we held our children in our arms. So at the beginning of 2021, my boss reduced the amount of the salary that he was giving us. I was now getting paid 1,400 rands a month instead of getting paid 1,700 rands, and my wife was now getting 700 rands per month instead of her 1.2 that she had been earning. I was now working with my boss's son. I was working like a slave on that farm. Sometimes I'll be beaten every now and then for things like if a cow will get sick, this kid could beat me up with a fist saying that I didn't give that cow's injections in time. Brother Nashi, life was so difficult at that farm. There were 4 of us who were working, and 3 of the people that I was working with on that farm, all of them were from Mozambique, but all of them, they had lost their eyesight after being kicked by horses on that farm. So on that farm, I was the only one with eyes that were not damaged. Being injured by the horses was a matter of the fact that on that farm the horses' hooves were trimmed here and then, so we were told to hold the horses' feet without any protection, and if they sensed that you are scared, those horses would usually respond by kicking you. We used to get injured and you will recover without getting any medical attention. What that boss used to do is that if you get injured whilst you are on the job, they won't take you to the government hospital, but they will go with you to a private hospital. Then you will get medical attention there. There was another guy who I was working with. That guy, he was kicked by a horse directly on his eye and he fainted. When this guy fainted, my boss then rushed him to the hospital, but he avoided going with him to the government hospital. They went with him to the private hospital to get treatment there, and when he had recovered, they came back straight to work with him. But we kept pushing and pushing, saying that what else can we do since we were foreigners? But we had to quit our jobs with these guys that I was working with on that farm, those guys from Mozambique, because our boss then told us that from now on, if a cow dies, all of you will get half of your salary. So I saw that since I had started working for this boss of mine, sometimes maybe in 1 year my salary will be increased by 5 rand a day. Another year it will be increased maybe by 10 rand. So my wife and I, we just left that farm, then we returned to our country. Those guys from Mozambique, it was only one who returned back to Mozambique, but the others stayed behind working on another farm that was farming potatoes, due to the fact that since they had eye injuries, there was no way they could find work. They were almost half blind. Whilst we were still in Zimbabwe, we were talking to our friend from Mozambique, that one that I used to work with in South Africa. So I went to Mozambique to buy some second-hand clothes so that I can sell them in Zimbabwe. But things were not going well for me until I met one old lady. That old lady is the one who helped me to do this money ritual. This old lady that I'm talking to you about, Brother Nashi, the first day that I saw her, I don't know how to explain it to you. I saw her, but I didn't see her. I don't know if that makes sense at all. What happened to me is that I was taken into a room and I was told that it was that old lady's room. When I got inside, my heart started beating so fast. I was so scared and the room was so dark. After that, I heard a voice saying, "Sit down." So when this old lady spoke with me, there was a translator who was sitting outside but near the door, and he would translate what this old lady was saying to me. I saw this old lady. She was sitting on a chair, but she will appear, then she will disappear. But when I'll try to look at her in her face, somehow I could not look at her. This old lady then told me that you came here to look for money. Then she said that she will give me the money that I wanted, but I should not be eating fish from that day onwards or seeing my relatives, especially my mother. Yes, of course, I said yes, but I told this old lady that this thing of me never seeing my relatives, especially my mother, it was going to be impossible. But she told me that if I wanted to continue seeing my relatives, especially my mother, and this oath of never eating fish again, there was another ritual and another covenant that I had to do. So I said yes. I said yes because I needed the money, but she said that I should go back.
When hard water attacks your skin, fight back. Fitahavi Water Softener.
Back to Zimbabwe and come back to Mozambique to a place with my family. At that time, I wanted to laugh because I told her that I had used all the money that I had to pay for the consultation with her. I had no money to go back to Zimbabwe with. So she gave me an empty wallet. At first, I just said in my heart, why would someone give me a wallet without any money at all? Then she told me that that wallet that she had given me, it had more money in it. She told me that this wallet had more money than the banks in the whole world. Then they made me to swear an oath. This oath that they made me to do, I cannot say it here. They made me to swear this oath because they say that if I don't return with that wallet and if I break that oath that I had sworn, I'll pay for that oath with the blood of my child. I left at that woman's house, then I slept at my friend's house whom I used to work with in South Africa, the guy who was now back in Mozambique. But when the time to sleep came, I couldn't sleep because throughout the night the dogs were just barking so hard. As I was about to fall asleep, I saw that the door opened itself and a woman entered into that room. This woman, she was naked. She was not wearing any clothes at all. That woman then walked towards me and she got inside that wallet. I don't know how this woman got to fit in that wallet, but she did. The next morning when I woke up, I felt a pain in my manhood. When I looked, I saw that my manhood, it was as if it had been scratched so much, but it was not bleeding at all. I woke up and I just wiped myself off because I was afraid of taking a shower just in case if I had my manhood even more. But when I was leaving, that friend of mine then advised me to get rid of that wallet. He said to me, my friend, I wish that you get rid of that what you took. You should return all the things that were given to you because this ritual money is not real money, he said to me. But I just laughed. Then I got into a car that was going into town so that I can catch a bus that will take me to the border and I'll go back to Zimbabwe. But I said, let me go into a restaurant at first and buy some food just to see if there was any money in that wallet and to see if the money would work. So I went into that restaurant. But what happened next really made me to realize that these ritual things are for real. I was sitting there eating. Then a man who was from Zimbabwe just came from nowhere and he started talking to me and he said to me that he had a very big problem that needed money fast. So he was selling his car. We went outside of that restaurant and I saw his car, which was a VW Amarok double cab that had a yellow plate from Zimbabwe. I asked him the price and he told me the price. I just laughed because I saw that even if I was to sell my wife and even if I was to sell my own kids, the money will not be enough to buy this car. I felt that as I was laughing to myself, that wallet started to burn in my pockets. I opened it and I saw that there were some US dollars in that wallet. Then I just heard a voice saying to me that, take out that money and put it aside until it is enough for you to buy this car. So I told that guy that I was coming back. I wanted to go to the bathroom first. When I went back into the restaurant, I asked for the toilet and I was shown where the bathrooms were. I went into that toilet and I started taking out those US dollars. These US dollars, there were only 100 US dollars, which were 15 of them. 15 came out of the wallet at the same time. I took out 10,000 US dollars and I went back to that man's car. He said that he wanted 15,000 US dollars for his VW Amarok double cab, but I told him that I can only give him 7,500 US dollars in cash, then another 7,500 US dollars. I'll give him the balance when I am back in Zimbabwe. He agreed. We then went to the police station and we signed an affidavit. Since I didn't have a license, then he provided me with one of his drivers. Then he gave me the papers for that car. On the way back to Zimbabwe, the driver then that was assigned to drive me told me that his truck had run over a person and that person had died. So the truck had been impounded by the police. So the station commander said that he wanted 20,000 US dollars so that he can make the docket to disappear and that case not to go to court. The driver drove me back to Zimbabwe from Mozambique, and then I gave the driver the remaining balance of the money that his boss needed. I called my wife to bring the children to the hotel in Harare where I was staying. In that hotel, I had booked 3 weeks at that hotel because my wife and we were staying in the village, so it was going to be difficult for me to come back home with an Amarok without a license, and everyone knew that I had no money at all. So me and my wife and my children, we stayed in that hotel for 2 weeks looking for a house to rent in the capital city. We finally found a house to rent. Then on the 3rd week, my license was issued. I just bought my license since I could drive a tractor. I just did some corruption, then my license was issued. But back in South Africa, I used to drive a tractor on that farm that I was working on. We then bought furniture for the house that we had rented in Harare town. All of that furniture for that house, we bought it in a single day. Then we filled that house and we settled down. So I don't don't know where we broke the oath or what we did wrong. We truly don't know, because the week that we were supposed to go back to Mozambique, then mysteriously that wallet suddenly disappeared. But in the house we had about 40,000 US dollars in cash at home. We then went to a car sales in Harare. Then I bought another VW Amarok, because the one that I had bought in Mozambique, it had not been changed its ownership. We bought the car, then we went to Mozambique. We went back to that old woman's house, me and my wife and our twins. That woman said, "Why did you delay coming back to thank me? Now, since that you broke your oath, you have to sacrifice your own child, or the spirit in your purse, that spirit will be the wife of your child. Either to sacrifice one of my children, or maybe to select this boy, my child, so that this spirit that was living inside of my wallet, that spirit can now be a wife to this boy of mine." So I made that choice. After I had made the choice that my child should be a husband to this spirit that was staying in my wallet, then that old woman spoke with us and she said that I am now going to close your wife's womb, because I have seen that your wife is carrying another baby boy, which means that by the time when we went to Mozambique, my wife was already pregnant. And at that moment, as that old woman was still speaking to us, my wife started to have a miscarriage, and people that was working with that old lady, she took my wife, then they started to treat my wife. But as they treated my wife, they were taking the blood that was coming out of her, the blood of the miscarriage that she was having. So what they will do is that when they had collected the blood, then they will put that blood in a 500 milliliter bottle of Coke. Then they will take another one, then they will put it in a bowl. Then they gave that bowl that was filled with blood to that old woman. Then that old woman gave me that bowl with blood from the miscarriage that my wife had just had, and she gave me with a 500 milliliter bottle of bitter water, and she told me that I was supposed to drink that water. After drinking that water, I started feeling nauseous and I wanted to vomit. What made me want to vomit was the fact that I had been told that the water that I had drunk was the water that had been taken from the mortuary. I was told that this mortuary that the water had been taken from, it was the mortuary that belonged to that old woman. So the water that I was drinking, it had been used to wash the dead bodies in that mortuary. That old woman then instructed me to mix the blood from the miscarriage that my wife had had and to mix the water from the mortuary. So I mixed those things together. Then I started to drink. Whenever I'll feel like I wanted to vomit, that old woman will press hard against my chest. Then I won't feel like I want to vomit anymore. The money then started flowing out of my wallet again. After we did these rituals, we then came back to Zimbabwe to live with my wife and my children. But now my wife is always worried about our son, saying that all these rituals that we did on his life is now over before it has even started, because the spirit that lives in my wallet, since this spirit that lives in my wallet is the spirit of a dead woman, This spirit is now performing all the duties that are supposed to be performed by a woman when she is married to a man. The water that we brought with us from Mozambique, it ran out. Then I found someone who works at a certain mortuary. That person told me that they can sell me about 25 liters of water that has been used to wash dead bodies. In Mozambique, I was given an instruction by that old woman that I should drink at least a quarter of a cup of that water a day, but I no longer want this life anymore, my brother, because it is not easy. Each and every day I have to drink water that I know that has been used to wash dead bodies. There was a time when we went to see some helpers who wanted to help us, but those people, they wanted to make a big deal out of us, saying that they wanted to call the cameras so that the whole world can see them helping us, and to us it was not possible. So now we want to go and to dispose of these things, but when we are about to go, we then suddenly start feeling kind of lazy. Sometimes we just forget about it. How long are we going to live like this, my brother? It is not easy each and every day knowing the rituals that we have done. Brother Nashi, we once called a prophet who charged us $3,000 to remove these things from our house. Suddenly, when those people say that they were on their way to our house, all the money that was in the house and also the wallet, it started to catch fire. Our child then fell to the ground as if he was having a seizure. Weird things started happening. We had to call them back to stop them from coming to our house, and we lied to them that we were going out. So that is our story, my brothers and my sisters. Please help us. I would also like to ask you not to share our number with anyone, because sometimes people will claim that they want to help you, but at the end of the day you will see that it will not be easy on our side, because whenever we try to go out to look for help, the whole night we can be beaten by things that we don't see. Please help us. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received as a WhatsApp voice note. Then it had to be translated so that everyone can hear what the story was about. I'll be back with more messages.
We need to pray. We actually need to fight to pray. Right now, I want to speak to the person who has a desire to make their prayer life more effective. I want to speak to the individuals who genuinely want to pray.